Good evening, everyone. I'm Erica Rako. Welcome to News Channel 7 at 10. Opposition to offshore oil drilling took on a new look today as people across the nation were encouraged to form lines in parks and beaches and hold hands. We've been out here at the kiddie pool at St. Andrews State Park for a couple hours now. We walked along the shoreline and didn't seem to see any tar balls. There's kids playing in the water, digging in the sand. Everything looks pretty good today. Right now, we're about 7.5 miles off the coast of Panama City Beach, where we're seeing those small tar balls floating on the surface as well as a jelly-like substance. The Coast Guard tells us this is exactly what was spotted off the coast of Pensacola before the thicker stuff started washing up there. Concession workers here at St. Andrews State Park say they noticed the hundreds of tar balls floating in the water when they showed up this morning. As the afternoon goes on and the sun beats down on them on the sand, it turns into this gooey substance. That's what's sticking to people's feet, hands. It's even been in some people's hair here. But for now, the massive Gulf oil spill isn't in its path. Our chief meteorologist, Chris Smith, joins us now to explain the latest. Chris, although any system can quickly change course, what's the path of depression right now? Tonight, for the first time, we get a close-up look of what's looming off the coast of Panama City Beach. A day after the first big wave of tar balls washed ashore in Bay County, the U.S. Coast Guard shows us what's still offshore and will most likely continue to come up. After 62 days of oil spilling into the Gulf, remnants are slowly drifting further and further east down the coast.
Now we're seeing is small little oil plumes, tar balls, and a small slight sheen.
It's now made its way to Panama City Beach. With several tar balls washing up Saturday, hundreds more float offshore. Right now, we're about 7.5 miles off the coast of Panama City Beach, where we're seeing those small tar balls floating on the surface as well as a jelly-like substance. The Coast Guard tells us this is exactly what was spotted off the coast of Pensacola before the thicker stuff started washing up there. The Coast Guard says the wind and weather makes it challenging to monitor the affected waters. Saturday, it was about 2 miles off the beach, and then northerly winds last night pushed it back out here, 7.5 miles out.
It really scatters it, and the track and actual boundary is very difficult because we're getting really small patches all over the place.
Bay County Emergency Director Mark Bowen says there's not enough product out here to successfully skim it.
It's physically impossible, and that's not anybody's fault. That's just reality. So what they do is when there's enough of it together, that's when vessels can start to skim it and pick it up.
For now, the pass remains open, but wet stage boom is in place and ready to be deployed. Bowen says they don't want to restrict any more recreational or commerce activities until they absolutely have to.
Our men and women are fighting 2 wars right now in the military. So there's issues of national defense concerning the Navy and shipping, private sector shipping that may have impacts there. So there's some maritime interests that are going to have priority.
He adds they don't want to close it off too soon, and they certainly are not going to do it too late.
When people call and say, why haven't you deployed boom? Why haven't you put boom across this or this? Well, it's not time yet. It's not time to do that yet. When it's time, it'll be done.
The million-dollar question right now is how will we know when it's the right time? Bowen says he can't give us a trigger point, but if they're not able to keep it offshore, that's when we'll see more boom activity here inshore.
As News Channel 7's Erica Rako tells us, it's taking cleanup crews quite a while to respond.
Pine cone, it has oil on it.
Instead of bagging seashells to take home as souvenirs, some visitors left the beach Monday with bags of tar balls.
We come here every year. It's like our home away from home, and I'm just worried that it's going to be ruined.
The kiddie pool at St. Andrews State Park is now littered with tar balls. Concession workers here at St. Andrews State Park say they noticed the hundreds of tar balls floating in the water when they showed up this morning. As the afternoon goes on and the sun beats down on them on the sand, it turns into this gooey substance. That's what's sticking to people's feet, hands. It's even been in some people's hair here. Park rangers set up a bucket of Dawn soap for beachgoers to wash the oil off their hands and feet.
Actually, I had stepped in a little piece of it this morning, and my first thought was, who left the melted chocolate on the beach, you know? And then I looked down and I tried to scrape it off my foot like that, and it didn't scrape off, it just stuck. I actually had to go up and wash it off with Dawn soap.
This is definitely not chocolate, rather globs of oil that splattered across the white sand. Kearney oversees beach rentals at St. Andrews Park. He says when he came to work around 7:30 this morning, he began cleaning it up himself and reported it to the Coast Guard. And you reported it to the Coast Guard? What happened?
And the Coast Guard said when BP's money runs out, they'll get involved.
No one's been out here cleaning it up?
No ma'am, no one, not a soul.
On the other side of the jetties, vessels of opportunity are placing boom to deflect any more oil moving towards St. Andrews Bay.
The idea is to minimize the amount of oil that's going into the pass. They're not closing the pass at this time. Closing the pass is a call that the Coast Guard would have to make.
Despite the oily mess, some vacationers say they're determined not to let it ruin their picture-perfect vacation, while others just don't want to deal with it.
I had one guy get his refund on his chair earlier because he said his kids were stepping in oil tar balls.
In Panama City Beach, Erica Rako, News Channel 7.
I've just got out here and I've seen no oil and the water's beautiful.
Take a look at the shoreline along the kiddie pool at the St. Andrews State Park Tuesday, and all you can see is sand and some seaweed. It's a welcome change from the way it looked Monday morning when hundreds of tar balls washed ashore.
So far, we've walked probably a mile and a half up the beach and hadn't seen any tar balls yet, but from what I understand, it was pretty covered yesterday, and they've done a good job of cleaning it up.
Yesterday, we came out here, wanting to swim and everything else, but there was people lined up all around this whole beach right here yesterday. There was seaweed. I mean, it wasn't even the color it was today. It was black, nasty black all around this whole side of the beach.
The water on the shoreline looked clear today. The only trace of what was here on Monday is a little bit of tar balls on some of the jetties that's been melted in the sun. About 20 cleanup crew members were back Tuesday morning combing the area and cleaning a few tar balls stuck on the rocks. And park officials as well as park guests are keeping their fingers crossed, hoping they don't have to deal with another tar ball invasion for quite some time. In Bay County, Erica Rako, News Channel 7.